begin by saying
that I had fallen in love
with a colour. Suppose I
were to speak this as if
it were a confession. It began slowly.
an appreciation.
An affinity. Then it became somehow
Personal.
as if falling under a spell.
A spell I am fighting to stay under.
Get out from under in turns.
Well,
What of it? I will try to explain this.
I admit
I may have been lonely. I will try to explain this. Why blue? People ask me this question often.
I never know how to respond.
I have amassed countless blue stones,
Blue shards of glass.
blue marbles, trampled blue photographs.
Blue rubble from broken buildings.
Though I can't remember where most of them came from,
I love them nonetheless.
it is perhaps my way of making my life feel in progress.
Rather than a sleeve of ash.
Falling off a lit cigarette. I've been given blue inks, paintings, postcards, dyes, bracelets, rocks, precious stones.
Watercolours, pigments, paperweights, goblets, sweets.
I have stood in front of a little pile of powdered ultramarine pigment
In a glass cup in a museum.
and felt
A stinging desire.
a desire to do what?
Swim in it.
Rouge my nipples with it? Ingest it?
Liberate it.
Purchase it? But you still wouldn't be accessing
The blue of it.
Not exactly.
I have met a man who is the primary grower of organic indigo in the world.
And another who sings Joni Mitchell's Blue in heartbreaking drag.
And another who had one of his front teeth replaced with lapis lazuli.
And another whose eyes leaked blue. I call this one,
The Prince of Blue.
which is in fact his name. Why blue?
People ask me this question.
Often,
We don't get to choose what or who we love.
I want to say, we just don't get to choose. The confusion about what colour is.
Where it is, or whether it is.
Persists. Think of a honeybee.
Flying into the folds of a poppy.
We see a red flower and assume that it's red. But we're normal. The bee sees.
A gaping violet mouth.
You might as well act.
As if objects had colours.
The encyclopedia says.
But what would it look like?
To act otherwise. We suppose the experiential quality to be an intrinsic quality of the physical object. This is the illusion
Of
Yesterday I picked up a speck of blue I'd been eyeing for weeks on the ground outside my house and found it to be a poison strip for ants.
Nolly May Tangeray.
Do not touch me,
It said.
as some blues do.
I left it on the ground.
A male satin bowerbird would not have left it there.
A male satin bowerbird would have tottered with it in his beak over to his bow,
Which he'd spent weeks adorning with blue objects.
in order to lure a female.
Blue bus tickets, blue bottle caps.
Blue flowers, blue feathers.
Plucked from smaller bluebirds
That he kills.
If he must.
to get their plumage.
He builds competitively,
Stealing treasures from other birds.
sometimes trashing their bowers entirely.
When I see photos of those blue bowers, I feel so much.
Desire. I wonder if I might have been born into the wrong species.
Am I trying to build?
Some kind of bower?
I'm trying
I've been trying for some time now.
to find dignity in my loneliness.
I've been finding this hard to do.
We suppose the experiential quality to be.
An intrinsic quality of the physical object.
This is the illusion of colour.
Perhaps it's also that of love.
I'm not willing to go there yet.
I believed in you.
Last night, a dream. A house by the shore.
A serious landscape
A dance was underway.
In a mahogany ballroom.
where we are dancing.
The way that people dance when they're telling each other how they want to make love.
And afterwards, it's time for rough magic.
To cast a spell.
I placed a string of blue objects into my mouth.
2 lapis beads.
A miniature feather.
A shard of azure glass.
I hold them there.
And they begin to discharge an unbearable milk.
When I look up, you're escaping on a skiff.
Suddenly, wanted, I offer to help the police boat look for you.
But they tell me the currents are too unusual.
I stay behind
I become known
as the lady who waits.
the sad sack of town.
With hair that smells like an animal.
On my CV, it says that I am currently working on a book about the colour blue.
I haven't written a word.
I enjoy telling people I'm writing about blue
Without actually
Doing it.
because people send you stories or gifts,
offerings to the bower.
a blue correspondence.
Sending me reports from the field.
But that sounds
Jaunty.
really.
It's more like I have been mortally ill.
When blue news comes,
Like a last-ditch hope for a cure.
and I'm talking about colour as if it were a cure.
When I have not yet stated a disease.
Last night, I dreamed about you again.
In this dream, an angel came to me and said,
She took me by the shoulders and said, "You must spend more time thinking about the divine
And less time.
imagining unbuttoning the Prince of Blue's pants on a warm afternoon in early spring."
I plead with the angel. What if the Prince of Blue's unbuttoned pants are the divine?
She shrugs.
So be it. She leaves me to sob in my face against the blue slate floor.
A warm afternoon in early spring.
The blue things I treasure most.
gifts.
Or surprises in the landscape.
A warm afternoon in early spring.
The rocks I dug up this summer in the North Country.
Each one painted mysteriously round its belly with a bright blue band.
The little square of navy blue dye you brought me.
Long ago, we barely knew each other.
Folded neatly into a paper wrapper. A warm afternoon in early spring, we went to a hotel to fuck. Afterwards, from the window of our room, I watched a blue tarp across the wave, flapping in the wind. You slept, so it was my secret.
It was around this time that I first had the thought.
We fuck well because he is a passive top and I am an active bottom.
And I said this out loud, but I thought it often.
I had no idea how true it would prove. Or how
Painful.
outside of the fucking.
The instructions printed on the blue dye's wrapper said,
Wrap blue in cloth.
Stir while squeezing the blue.
In the last rinsing water.
dip,
Articles
Separately.
for a short time.
keep them moving.
I liked these instructions.
I like blues.
That keep moving.
If a colour cannot cure, can it at least...
Incite hope.
The blue collage you sent me
Soon after we met.
made me hopeful, but not.
To be honest.
because of its blues?
I don't want to yearn for blue things.
I don't want to yearn to live.
In a world in which I already live.
Above all, I want
To stop.
To stop.
to stop missing you.
She's got the way. She feels so sad.
I've heard that a diminishment in colour vision often accompanies depression, though I've no idea how such a thing is neurologically possible.
So, what would it be a symptom of to start seeing colours?
To start seeing just one colour.
More acutely.
Monomania, hypomania,
Shock. Grief.
Love?
What kind of madness is it to be in love with something constitutionally incapable of loving you back?
German writer Johann Wolfgang Goethe wrote his book Theory of Colours in a period of his life described by one critic as a long interval marked by nothing distinguishable. Goethe himself described this period as one in which a quiet, collected state of mind was out of the question. Goethe was not alone in turning to colour at a full moment. Filmmaker Jarman wrote Chroma as he was down in veins, and Austrian philosopher Wittgenstein wrote remarks on colour during the last 18 months of his life while dying with stomach cancer. He knew he was dying. He could have chosen to work on any philosophical problem under the sun. He chose to write about colour and pain. Explanations come to an end somewhere, he wrote. We love to contemplate blue, wrote Goethe, not because it advances to us, but because it draws us after it.
The last time I saw you,
The last time I saw you, you were wearing a blue shirt.
And you said,
I wore this for you.
when I talk about colour
and hope,
or colour,
And despair.
I'm not talking about the red of a stoplight, the black sail strung from a ship's mast, the periwinkle line on a white felt oval of a pregnancy test.
I'm trying to talk about what blue means. Or what it means to me.
The confusion about what colour is, where it is, or whether it is, persists despite thousands of years of prominent phenomenon. In the dark chamber of his room at Trinity College, Isaac Newton took to sticking iron rods in his eyes to analyse his perceptions of colour. Long before Newton's time, some thought our eyes emitted some kind of substance that illuminated or felt what we saw. Others proposed the opposite, that objects themselves project a kind of ray that reaches out towards our eyes, as if the objects were looking back at us.
And surely some of them are. Plato split the difference. To his mind, the act of seeing was a visual fire that burns between our eyes and that which we behold.
It still seems fair enough.
I keep dreaming,
We're fucking
dedicated to it,
lost in it.
as if there is no other activity on God's given earth
Our bodies know how to do.
except fuck and be fucked like this. The last time I saw you, we fucked for 6 hours straight.
It's unclear what Billie Holiday means exactly when she sings, but now the world will know she's never gonna sing 'em no more, no more. Is she moving on? Is she shutting up, or is she going to die?
Also unclear, the source of her
Triumphance.
But perhaps there is no real mystery here.
Life is usually stronger than people's love for it.
psychoanalyst Adam Phillips.
And to hear Holiday's voice is to understand why suicide is both so easy and so difficult.
One has to stamp out this native triumph.
Either by debilitation or disbelief.
Or by force of ambush. Nonetheless, as Billie Holiday knew, to see blue in deeper and deeper saturation is eventually to move toward darkness, towards black.
In his final film, Blue,
Derek Jarman forecast his own death.
as disappearing into a blue screen.
I walked behind the sky. For what are you seeking? A fathomless blue of space. To be an instrument of the void, leave the comfortable house that imprisons you with reassurance. Remember, to be going and to have are not eternal. Fight the fear that engenders the beginning, the middle, and the end. For blue, there are no boundaries or solutions. Time is what keeps the light from reaching us.
office, I make a map of famous blue places, coloured pins, etc. The Chartres Cathedral, the Isle of Skye. I apply for grant after grant describing how exciting, how original, how necessary my exploration of blue would be.
In one application sent after midnight to an extremely prestigious university, I described my project as heathen, hedonistic, and horny.
The last time I saw you,
You were on your way to a seaside town.
where you would spend a week with the other woman that you were in love with.
I'm in love with you both.
In completely different ways.
You said,
It seemed unwise to contemplate this statement any further.
How clearly I have seen my condition, says young Werther, the protagonist of Goethe's novel The Sorrows of Young Werther, who dances with his beloved in a blue coat. How clearly I have seen my condition, and yet how childishly I have acted. How clearly I still see it, and show no signs of improvement.
this time last year, a therapist said to me, in a year from now, there is simply no way you will feel the way you feel today. But my feelings haven't changed. I count the days as if the act of measurement makes me some kind of promise.
But really, this is like hoisting a harness onto an invisible horse.
Although some things
Do change.
A membrane can rip off your life
I remember that day.
very clearly.
I receive a phone call. A friend has been in an accident.
She might not live.
She has very little face. And her spine
He's broken in two places.
She hasn't moved.
might not move.
The doctor described her as a pebble in water.
When I walk into my friend's hospital room, her eyes
Her eyes, piercing, pale blue.
Were the only part of her body that can move.
I'm scared.
So is she.
The blue is beating.
At the bottom of the swimming pool, I watched the white winter light.
Spangled, the cloudy blue.
And I know that together they make God.
The baby shit yellow showers.
I noticed that the yellow paint is fading.
A decent industrial blue is trying to creep in. My friend's face has been reconstructed by a team of surgeons.
Just a few little scars on the bridge of her nose and under her chin.
You would never know they gave her.
Titanium cheekbones. A titanium jaw.
Her fingertips can't touch the bed sheet.
It's too painful to touch.
Something smooth.
We tried propping her hands up.
On rough white towels.
she says.
My hand feels good. Touching yours, she says.
And it's like I've won the lottery.
I hold her hand, and she falls asleep.
Make sure I'm there.
When she opens her eyes,
I was sleeping, she says.
yes, I say. You were.
A little later, she says.
I was in a terrible accident.
Yes. I say again.
You were.
In the baby shit yellow showers.
The blue.
Is spreading.
At the hospital, I tell my friend how much I love her. And I'm sorry she's in so much pain. Pain that I can witness.
Imagine.
But never know.
She says if anyone knows this pain besides me, it's you and Jay.
Jay is her lover.
And even though pain could be defined as that which we typically aim to avoid,
To be this close to her pain feels like
A privilege to me.
perhaps because
She's never held any hierarchy of grief.
either before the accident or after.
Which seems to me
Nothing less.
then a form of enlightenment.
I try not to think about you.
About my having lost you.
You're just picking at it like a scab.
The kind of thing someone's mother would say.
Probably mine. A synoplepsia.
Non-perception of blue.
A tear of hell, to be sure.
Albeit one that could be corrected by taking Viagra.
A side effect of which is to see the world tinged with blue.
An expert on menopause in the guppy fish, in an office across from mine at the Institute,
Explains the Viagra thing one lunchtime.
enthusiastically.
He says it has something to do with a protein in the penis.
That is similar.
To a protein in the retina.
But beyond that,
I cannot follow.
L'objectif du premier livre, c'était de d'écrire tout simplement, d'une manière extrêmement objective, enfin la plus objective possible, donc avec une certaine distance par rapport à tout ce qui était les sentiments, les actes sexuels eux-mêmes. Voilà. Et cet objectif, je lui suis tenue. Alors,
I love to gaze at a promising looking cock.
Writes Catherine Delay.
Going on to describe how she also loves to look
At the brownish crater of her arsehole.
and the crimson valley of her pussy.
each one open wide
Its colour laid bare.
for the fucking. I like to look too.
We've not heard enough about the female gaze. About
The scorch of it.
for my part,
I am interested in
having 3 orifices stuffed full of veiny cock in the most unforgiving of poses and liked.
The last time I saw you,
We fucked for 6 hours straight,
This does not seem precisely possible.
but that is what the clock said.
I'd be a shitty boyfriend, you said.
As if making a promise.
I lay my head down on the desk.
The most I want to do is show you
The end of my index finger.
its muteness.
After my friend's accident,
I take care of her.
It's difficult because often to care for her is also to cause her pain.
The transfer in and out of her wheelchair sends her legs into excruciating spasms, during which time all I can do is press down on them.
and say I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Until the shaking stops.
I wheel my friend slowly.
Like the nurse said, slowly.
Down the glass hallways of the hospital.
And into the winter air.
Everyone at home wants to know if you're okay.
She is not okay.
She's paralyzed. She's in tremendous pain.
In the patch of garden, I read her an essay of mine.
About travelling the passage from the particular to the universal.
And she says,
Yes, the problem now
is to think the singular.
The singular.
She says again, very seriously, as if it were 10 years prior and we were just...
Sitting in her office.
I'm sad.
So sad to be paralyzed, she says.
The problem now.
Is to think.
The singular.
Last night I wept until I aged myself.
I watched it happen.
In the mirror, I watched the lines arrive around my eyes, like engraved sunbursts
Like flowers opening in time lapse.
on a windowsill.
The tears not only aged my face.
They changed the texture, turned the skin to putty,
I recognized this as a rite of decadence.
but I didn't know how to stop it.
Blue eye archaic.
A blueness or dark circle around the eye from weeping or other cause.
It doesn't really help to inflate a heartbreak.
Into a form of allegory,
Losing what one loves is simpler.
more common than that.
Perhaps it's becoming clearer why I felt no romance.
When you told me
That you carried my last letter with you.
everywhere you went for months on end,
Unopened.
This may have served some purpose for you,
But whatever that purpose was,
bears little resemblance to mine,
I never aimed to give you a talisman.
an empty vessel.
to flood with whatever longing, dread, or sorrow.
Happened to be your day's mood.
I wrote it.
I wrote it because I had something to say to you.
I don't feel like you're trying hard enough.
Another friend says to me.
When I confess the
To
duration
the frequency,
of my weeping.
I want to tell her that these days,
Not trying has become the whole point.
The whole plan.
I have gone limp in the face of my heartache.
Like an act of civil disobedience.
Let the police peel me up.
In the end,
The sorrowful young Werther shoots himself in the head.
while wearing his blue coat.
It takes him all night to die.
A bloody death. I ask the guppy expert,
What do biologists make of the question?
Does colour exist?
well, he says,
A male guppyfish looking for a mate doesn't worry about
whether colour exists.
A male guppyfish,
Only really cares about being
orange.
in order to attract said mate.
But can it really be said that a guppyfish cares?
about being orange.
No, he says.
It simply is orange.
Why orange, I ask?
He shrugs.
In the face of some questions, biologists can only
Vacate the field.
The last of my funding applications is rejected.
My blues must stay local.
At one time in history, lapis lazuli was only available in one mine in Afghanistan, Sar-e-Satin, the place of the stone. When the mine ran dry, the miners used dynamite to bleed a vein in hopes of starting a blue rush.
All I know is when I met you,
A blue rush began.
a different therapist tells me
If he hadn't lied to you, he would be a different person than he was.
She is trying to get me to see that although I love this man,
very completely.
For exactly who he was.
I was in fact
Blind to the man he actually was.
Or is.
Tell me why that hurts, she said.
Oh, I don't know, I say.
I don't know.
Maybe I have a problem with the way clinical psychology forces
Everything we call love.
into the pathological.
Or the delusional.
Or the biologically explicable.
And that
If what I was feeling wasn't love,
then I am forced to admit.
That I don't know what love is.
Or simply,
That I love
a bad man
disavowal.
says,
the
Silence. My injured friend asks me to help her examine.
the parts of her body that are paralyzed.
we do it together like scientists,
As if their paralysis had rendered them objects of inquiry.
independent of us both.
I tell her about
The last time I saw you,
You
were on your way.
on your way to a seaside town.
A town of much blue.
to spend a week
With the other woman you were in love with.
blue button-down shirt, short-sleeved. I wore this for you, you said. I tell her that not long after that afternoon,
I came across a photograph of you with this woman.
this woman that you're with now,
In the photograph,
You're wearing the shirt.
how ghastly, my friend said.
As I move her legs,
in and out of the
Inflatable thigh-high compression boots she wears.
to inhibit the formation of blood clots.
Later, she says,
eventually,
you will have to give up this love.
It has a morbid part.
how many ways
Can you get saturated?
in another's mind,
I play my little movie of you over again.
trying to recover?
Any lost details?
I let you touch me with one hand whilst the other steers a car through a forest of billboards and boulevards.
You are robbing us of joy.
You told me after eyes on the road.
As if I were the thief
As if I had the goods.
in hand.
In 1936, artist Joseph Cornell made a film called Rose Hobart.
Using scissors, he cut up a Hollywood movie starring the 30s actress
Deleting any frame
without her in it.
Cornell then projected the remaining film,
through a blue filter.
bathing Rose in the colour he so loved.
The last time
I saw you.
You were on your way.
you were on your way to see the other woman that you were in love with.
The woman you are with now.
The timing is off.
You told me.
I think you understand.
To cut up
The reels of a bad Hollywood movie.
To isolate
the face you love,
the most
To project.
the results.
through the lens of your favorite color.
This is to me
Right now,
The perfect film.
I play my little movie of you.
Over and over and over again.
trying to recover.
Any lost details.
The last time I saw you, you were
On your way
to a town
of much blue.
To see the other woman.
that you were in love with.
The woman you
Are with now. But one can have the blues and stay alive.
At least for a time.
Productive even.
perennial consolation.
My friend slept as I read
Joseph Cornell's diaries.
February 28th, 1947. Resolve this day, as before,
To transcend in my work.
The overwhelming sense of sadness that has been so binding
and wasteful in the past.
At the hospital,
My friend says
she'll shoot herself.
if she's in this kind of pain tomorrow,
All I can think to say is,
well, luckily we don't have the utensils for that kind of thing.
in here, there is no chartable march towards health.
Or death.
Just the eternal present.
Of a single body
being driven insane.
by pointless pain.
At a bookshop,
I pick up a book called The Deepest Blue.
expecting a chromatic text. I'm embarrassed when I see the subtitle.
How women face and overcome depression.
I quickly return it to its shelf.
Eight months later, I ordered the book online.
Like many self-help books, The Deepest Blue is full of horrifyingly simplistic language.
The people in the book will learn to say,
That is my depression talking, that's not.
Me.
As if we could scrape the colour off the iris and still see.
Vincent van Gogh, whose depression was likely related to temporal lobe epilepsy, saw and painted the world in unbearably vivid colours. After his nearly unsuccessful attempt to take his life by shooting himself in the gut, when asked why he should not be saved, he replied, "The sadness will last forever."
Yeah.
what is the colour of a jacaranda tree in blue?
You once described it to me.
As a type of blue.
I did not then know if I agreed.
For I had not yet seen the tree.
When I saw it myself, truth be told,
I saw it as purple. I touched myself again and again.
And came in my narrow bed.
thinking of you,
Thinking of you, knowing all the while
that I was planting the seeds.
of a fresh disaster.
The disaster did not come then.
But it did come later.
I keep dreaming I'm at the hospital.
But it's someone else that's paralysed.
A childhood friend.
I've fallen out of touch with. I
I
keep
keep
dreaming
dreaming.
we're fucking.
But somehow never alone.
You should be hard to fuck you with another.
But in the dream
I know that I'm just making the best.
of a bad situation.
Memory is blue.
In the head.
Heads are easily.
Taken off.
The poet Laureen Niedecker.
How to take.
My head off.
I could
Let myself
be fucked mercilessly.
as in my earliest sexual fantasy.
I could
Drink every drop of alcohol left in my house.
Which includes the rest of this beer.
And a bottle of Maker's Mark.
Oh, Daddy, I want to stay drunk many days, wrote the poet Frank O'Hara.
And did.
Drinking when you're depressed is like throwing kerosene on a fire,
Says the deepest blue. What depression?
never felt.
Like a fire.
The blue things
I treasure most are gifts.
or surprises in the landscape, flipping on the light.
In a stranger's bathroom.
And finding it to be robin's egg blue.
Rounding a bend.
The half circle of blinding turquoise ocean.
Love's primal scene. The little square.
Of navy blue dye.
You brought me long ago.
When we barely knew each other.
I lay out my collection.
I thought I had enough blue to build a mountain.
But what strikes me now
Is it anemia?
Not enough.
Blue stones. Shards of glass. Marbles.
blue rubble from blue buildings.
Blue inks. Paintings. Postcards. Dyes. Bracelets. Rocks.
Precious stones, watercolors, pigments, paperweights, goblets, sweets.
Not enough.
Blue bus tickets, blue bottle caps, a string of
A
lapis.
tarp flapping in the wind as you slept.
My secret.
Not enough.
A pale blue button-down shirt, short sleeved.
All this for you.
It calms me.
To think of blue
As the colour of death.
I have long imagined death's approach.
as the swell of a wave.
A towering war.
Of blue.
A descent into a blue underworld.
Blue with hungry ghosts. Krishna blue.
The blue faces.
Of the ones you loved.
To take a breath of water
Does the thought panic?
or excite me.
If you are in love with red.
Then you slip.
Oh shoot.
If you are in love with blue, you fill your pockets with stones and head down to the river.
Any river will do.
I don't know how.
The jacaranda trees.
Will make me feel next year.
Or if they will
Still be.
purple.
I don't know.
If I would be alive.
To see them.
Someone lost their Levi's in the water,
When the rain comes, the river breaks the banks.
threatening everything in its path.
Last night I dreamt
I didn't move in time,
Just stepped in
but tonight
the water.
is perfectly still.
as if we
Pressed the planet on pause.
The buildings,
reflected so precisely.
That no horizon is possible.
I could
Sink.
Into a certain comfort here.
Just
Disappear.
this.
is the dysfunction.
Talking.
This
Is the disease.
talking.
This is
commentary for the month of May.
Only 4 days of sunshine. The rest of the month is drizzling or pouring.
Rain rendering everything.
Green.
Green gagging me pleasurably.
Green holding my hips from behind.
Green, rushing and verdant.
In short, a nightmare.
Each day I take long walks in my yellow poncho, looking for blue.
I come back each night empty-eyed, empty-handed.
As if I had been fruitlessly panning for gold.
All day in a cold river.
You cannot step into the same river twice.
Heartening without a doubt.
But this is just one version of the fragment by Greek philosopher Heraclitus. Other versions have it that
We do and do not step in the same river.
we are and we are not.
Stop working against the world.
Love the one you're with.
Love the colour green.
But I did not love the green.
The most I can say is...
I abided it.
The most I can say is...
I learned my lesson.
I stopped hoping.
Perhaps in time I also stop.
Missing you.
In any case, I'm no longer counting the days.
As summer thickens,
The garden gets explosive.
Almost angry.
weepy vines, psychotic,
Vegetables.
all that
Green.
You could break.
hard-won sobriety just by looking at it.
Look somewhere else.
For God's sake.
Look up. Why is the sky blue?
I've learned the answer several times, but I never remember it.
The part I do remember.
The blue of the sky depends on the darkness of empty space behind it.
So the blue is
An ecstatic accident.
produced by void.
And fire. My friend is visited by a fellow quadriplegic. She asks him,
If I remain paralyzed, how long will it take for my injury to feel like
Like a normal part of my life.
oh, at least 5 years, he says.
As of this week, she'll be at 3.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
These are the kinds of phrases that enrage my injured friend.
I am hard pressed to come up with a spiritual lesson.
That demands becoming a quadriplegic.
Everything happens for a reason is, to her,
A form of violence.
She has no time for it.
She is too busy.
Asking, in this changed form,
What makes a livable life?
And how she can live it. Lately I have placed my collection of blue on a ledge in my house that is
for a good half the day, drenched in sunlight.
I like to see the sun pass through the blue glass, the blue bottle of ink.
the blue translucent stones. But their light
Is destroying the objects.
bleaching out their blues.
I often think
About moving the most vulnerable object
out of the light.
But the truth is,
I have little to no instinct for protection.
out of laziness, curiosity.
or cruelty, I've given them up to their diminishment.
How often I've imagined
The bubble of body and breath.
You and I made,
Even though
by now I can hardly remember what you look like.
I can hardly see your face.
though lovers be lost, love shall not, etc.
But I'm not yet sure.
How to sever
The
love from
the
lover.
Without occasioning some degree of
carnage.
The half circle of blinding turquoise ocean.
But this blue exists.
Makes my life
A remarkable one.
Just to have seen it.
to have seen
Such beauty.
to find oneself placed in its midst.
choiceless.
If I were today on my deathbed,
I would name my love of the colour blue
And making love with you.
as two of the sweetest sensations I knew.
on this earth,
But am I certain that it was sweet?
Really? Or not always.
if I am to enforce a policy of brutal honesty,
Perhaps not even often. I suppose it is possible.
That one day,
you and I will meet again.
And it will feel as if nothing ever happened between us.
it seems
Unimaginable,
But it happens all the time.
I find this forgetting heartening.
And tragic in turns.
for to wish to forget,
How much you love someone and then
to actually forget.
feels like the slaughter of a beautiful bird.
Who chose
By nothing short of grace.
to make a habitat of your heart.
I want you to
I
know
want you to know that there was a
But
time
I would
I've
rather
had you by my side.
than all the blue in the world.
But now you are talking
as if love were a consolation.
Simone Weil,
Mystic and sometimes Marxist.
Warned otherwise.
Love is not.
consolation, she wrote.
It is light.
Alright then, let me try to rephrase.
When I was alive,
Look up.